Like the last one was Wednesday, and I'm like, I don't know about Thursday. I'm like, we're just gonna cancel it because I don't want to like driving. It's gonna be bad. And that's what it ended up hitting anyway. So, got a few chamber events coming up, and tonight's the business after hours. I don't know if he's going to that. That's the where is that one at? That's the Orlando Health one. Okay, thank you. That's Orlando Health. I will not be at that one. I'm at Dr. Phillips Center tonight, so seeing the show that I booked at the beginning of the year. So looking forward to that. Tomorrow is Brewing Up at Home State, so I will be at that bright and early. So hopefully I'll see you guys. I think it's 7:30 in the morning.
Well, it starts at 8:10.
8:10 is like the official start. So if you want to sleep in, yeah. Well, I know the last two I've been showing up at like 8:30, just because I'm like, it's fine. I just want to say hey to people after the meeting, but we'll see what time I make it there tomorrow. So.
7:10 starts like open networking.
Yeah, right then and there. And then on the 30th, we have Celebrating Extraordinary Women. That's at Valencia's West Campus. So if anybody's going to that, it usually does sell out, but I don't know where the Valencia West Campus is, but my GPS does, so we should be all right, so today have the French Family Foundation presenting, so welcome. I'm glad you guys are able to present. I'll turn it over to them, and then we'll do some general, around the room once we get done. So,
good morning. I know I've talked to several of you before. You've heard us before, but as you see, you have a little bingo card in front of you. My daughter Addison's going to explain what that's all about for us.
Yeah.
So, she's also one of our board members, by the way. So she wanted to miss school today to come.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the bingo cards in front of you, whenever you hear us say the word, just mark it off with either the pen or the highlighter in front of you. And then at the very end, if you get a bingo, just shout it at the very end, and then you get a little sticker.
You get to choose from the sticker pack.
Yeah.
Hold all your bingos to the end though.
Oh, okay.
Because everyone's probably going to get bingo.
So, my name is Jason French. For those of you who don't know me, this is my wife Kelly, and as you met, my daughter Addison. We are here from the French Family Foundation. I'd like to tell you a little bit about us. So, Kelly and I have been married for 24 years. My daughter Addison's my oldest daughter. We have two sons. In 2013, my oldest son Grayson was born, and when he was born, he was diagnosed with Down syndrome. Initially, that diagnosis just utterly terrified us. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what that meant. We were confused. We were worried. We were scared. But over time, we learned what things he needed, what medical appointments, what doctor's appointments, and what we realized is that Grayson brought a tremendous amount of joy to our lives, and to this day, we couldn't imagine it any other way. Okay. You said like I needed to stop. In 2018, my wife was scrolling through Facebook and she came across a little boy in South Florida who was in need of adoption, and that little boy had Down syndrome. And that led to a discussion between us, and we thought that because we had already raised one son with Down syndrome, we were well equipped in order to be able to handle that. And so we began the process of trying to adopt this little boy. A year later, once our home study was completed, that little boy had found a family, but we soon realized that there were lots of children in the foster care system that were looking for forever families. And so in 2019, we were matched with a little boy named AJ, and in 2020, we took custody of him. AJ was diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and apraxia. And if you don't know, apraxia just means there's a disconnect between his brain and his mouth, and he has a lot of difficulty speaking. Right now, he's actually nonverbal, although we're working on it. In 2020, we adopted him, and he became part of our family officially. Also in 2020, my wife once again was scrolling through Facebook, and a friend of ours that we knew who also had a daughter with special needs had been battling for 2 years with her insurance company over a communications device for her daughter. After 2 years of applications and appeals, the insurance company ultimately denied her that communications device, and so she resorted to a GoFundMe in order to raise the $5,000 needed to buy that communication device for her daughter. My wife showed me this post and said to me, wouldn't it be great if we could just buy her this stupid device? And with that one statement, the French Family Foundation was born. The French Family Foundation exists to help people with special needs, their families, and those families seeking to adopt children with special needs.
So a couple things that we do for the foundation locally for families, going back to that communication device, is any families that are in need of anything that insurance has denied, or there's lots of requests for occupational speech therapy, things like that, that either aren't covered by insurance or only covered by a portion of them. The families can reach out to us on our website. There's a scholarship request form. It's a short form that they fill out, and based on the funds that we have available, we can award those scholarship grants to them. So here's just a couple over the past year that we've been able to give out. So what we've learned through some of these requests is that families that have a child that's in a wheelchair, they can get a wheelchair like every 3 to 5 years, like as the child grows. But if they need any sort of adaptive stroller or anything like that, that counts towards their wheelchair. So they can only get one or the other every 5 years. And so we have had quite a few requests for adaptive strollers that are just easier to get around, like families that like to go hiking or on the trails, you know, all of our trails around here. So we have given quite a few of those, as well as just additional money for therapies and things like that that are needed. On the flip side of that, we also offer adoption grants. So we'll talk a little bit about it later, but the cost of private adoption is anywhere from $25,000 and up in the US and $35,000 or up internationally. So a lot of these families have adopted multiple children and all have some sort of a disability. And so we were able to award grants anywhere between $1,000 and $2,500, again, depending on our funds. So we'll talk more about the 5K later, but the 5K and then any general funds that we get throughout the year specifically go back to the local community for both of these types of grants that we offer.
So you said 25 to 30 for adoption. I mean, so, you know, obviously you adopted. So where do the majority of those costs come from? I mean, where do you think? The legal side of it, or is it just?
Oh, it's the legal side of it, but so I tell the story when we talk about adoption specifically, that when we went through our initial home study, we did everything wrong. It was a complete disaster piece, like I like to call it. We initially went through the state because there was a no cost or a little cost in order to get your home study approved. But what we found out, that was a lengthy process. And what we found out is because we were not willing to foster care, we were specifically looking to adopt, that we were kind of pushed to the bottom of the list. And we never actually got that completely finalized through the state. We ultimately had to go through a private adoption company and redo our home study. So home studies range in price, they're around $1,500 to $2,500. To go through a private adoption company in the United States, for an in-country adoption is $25,000. Out of country is $35,000 and up, okay? Once you take custody of the child, so just another piece of our story, when we adopted AJ, we adopted him and then COVID hit. And courts basically shut down, and so we weren't able to finalize our adoption for over a year.
It was like
and 18 months. And so we had to pay, because we had custody of him, but we were his legal guardians, but not his parents, we had to have monthly site visits from a social worker to make sure he was being cared for. And so that was what, $500 a month? Yeah, $500 a month that we paid for 18 months just to have that service done before we could finalize. And then on top of that, AJ was in Ohio when we adopted him. And of course we had to bear all the costs of travel. We were up there for 2 weeks in order to get through the court system and do all that stuff. So, you know, staying in a hotel for 2 weeks, all those costs associated. If you do overseas adoptions, which a lot of people do, the times are even longer.
And you have to go over multiple times.
Yeah, there'll be multiple trips to the other country, and sometimes as long as 30 days. Obviously, those travel expenses are even greater on top of that. So there's all those things that kind of build up. One of the Thurgood family right here, they had initially started their home study process, got all the way through, got matched with a child, and for some reason on the legality side of things, that completely fell through, okay? And at that point, they had their home study was about to expire because you have to renew it every year. And so basically they had to start all over again and pay all this money all over again. So they had actually raised money initially through friends and family and people in their church in order to do this adoption initially. And then they had to go back to them and say, well, all the money we gave was for waste because we weren't able to do any of this. And so they were crushed. They were looking at taking home equity loans in order to be able to try this again. And then they reached out to us. We were able to help a little bit with redoing that. So, you know, like I said, there's not a newborn baby in the United States that doesn't go unadopted. That's just the truth of it. If there's a newborn baby that comes up for adoption, there's somebody there to take it. The issue is there's a bunch of older children in the foster care system, and I'm not talking about teenagers, I'm talking about 2, 3, 4, 5. I just got, yesterday, from our initial adoption company, sent me an email, says there's a little boy who's 7, who has autism, that is looking for a home because his parents just can't care for him anymore. And so there are lots of these kids out there in the system, and there are families who are willing and equipped to adopt them, but the upfront cost for this is just a lot of money. I mean, how many of you have $50,000 sitting in a bank account right now you can put to that? Not a lot. So, you know, they have the skills needed and they have the money in order to care for this children going forward. They just don't have that upfront cost, and that's where we really want to step in and do this. So, but moving forward, what I cut, yeah, that's right.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong screen. There you go.
What I want to talk to you about today is, you know, Kelly and I get a lot of discussions, and the discussions with our parents is, what are our kids going to do when they're older? You know, after they're through high school, what happens then? Are they going to be able to live on their own? Are they going to have a job? What happens when we pass away? How are they going to be cared for? And so that led us kind of down a path of figuring out what people with special needs as they're older, what they do. And so we came across some statistics about people with disabilities in the labor force. In 2023, 13% of the labor force were made up of people with disabilities, only 13%. Of that 13% of people, or not of that, but of all of the people with disabilities, only 22.5% of them are actually employed. And then people with disabilities are more likely to be employed part-time versus full-time. And so what we are looking to do is,
Now that we're done with all the boring statistics, this is what we want to do.
I think you just have to press. There you go.
What makes us so afraid of people who are different? Why do we become uncomfortable when we encounter someone who speaks a little slower, walks with a limp, or has unique eyes?
Biddy and Bo's Coffee in Wilmington, North Carolina employs 40 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
But our shop is more than just a place to grab a cup of joe. It's an experience that creates a culture where diversity is not just appreciated, it's celebrated.
Every day when its doors open, the fear of the different falls. It shows the best of who we are, hardworking, welcoming, and kind. And it reminds us that our desires are the same. We need to feel like we are valued in this world.
Your own kids have Down syndrome.
When Bo was born 13 years ago, my husband Ben and I didn't know anything about Down syndrome. And I reflect on that and the fear we felt and how we transformed that into some of the greatest joy we've known in our lives.
I am Bo. This is our coffee shop.
There's a new coffee spot in town.
Hello, welcome to Ben's Coffee. What would you like today?
Whether you like your cup hot or cold, Bo's Coffee has a niche for warming every part that walks in the door.
Once in a while, we get an opportunity to meet a family and a community of people like you and spread the good word and the good news. We're in such a divided time in this country. It just fills my soul to be able to tell a good story.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
We are pledging in our show. We love you so much that we have made you our official coffee carrier. We drink a lot of coffee.
The 2017 CNN Hero of the Year is Amy
watching at home tonight, Biddy and Bo, that I would not change you for the world, but I will change the world for you.
Biddy and Bo's Coffee officially opened its doors to downtown Charleston as they surprised their first employees with job offers.
We welcome you to the Biddy and Bo's Coffee family.
You guys got jobs.
Bless this business and help us to flourish here and in Wilmington and the next location. Amen.
Exciting news to share, don't we? Yeah. Are we gonna open another Biddy and Bo's Coffee? Yeah. Where should we open it this time?
Biddy and Bo's now employs 80 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. You can drop by the shop starting tomorrow morning.
The goal? To get all of America smiling, thanks to a little coffee, but also some of the most spirited, cheerful employees you'll ever meet.
3, 2, 1.
My children are not broken. My employees are not broken. 200 million people across the world living with an intellectual or developmental disability are not broken.
What I love about this is that I think it's going to help end some misconceptions.
Having a disability is nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of the human condition.
Biddy and Bo's Coffee is a new lens, one that changes the way we see other people. It's about human value. It's about acceptance. It's about inclusion. It's about much more than a cup of coffee.
Biddy and Bo's.
Biddy and Bo's.
Biddy and Bo's.
Biddy and Bo's Coffee.
Biddy and Bo's Coffee.
So Biddy and Bo's is the franchise.
The closest one right now is Jacksonville. There's like Jacksonville, Savannah.
I believe the last time we
Wilmington.
counted, there's 11 locations across the United States, none here in Central Florida. So we want to be the first ones to open one here in Central Florida. And we want to start with one, but we'd like to open several. So we've started a capital campaign. We are looking for 200 individuals, groups, or companies to pledge $100 a month for the next 2.5 years to raise the $200,000 needed to open our first Biddy and Bo's location right here in Central Florida. And we just want to expand from there.
I'm sure you've all heard that we have our 5K coming up. It's November 16th at Home State Brewing. For the race enthusiasts, it is timed, but when we started brainstorming about doing our first 5K last year, we wanted to stay true to our mission. So with that in mind, the course is handicapped accessible, and there are multiple spots throughout the actual race map that can shorten the race if needed for any individuals. And then we also advertise it as a fun run because we want to make sure that it's inclusive for everyone. We still are accepting sponsorships if anyone's interested in sponsoring. We have bronze sponsor packages starting at $100 all the way up to our title sponsor of $5,000. You should have a postcard in front of you that has a QR code on it, and that QR code will take you to the race website, and you can sponsor there. You can also register. Registration is $35 for adults, $30 for youth, and our superstars, which are people with a disability, are free with a paid registration. And if you can't make it on the 16th, no worries, you can still sign up. We have a virtual option, and you'll get your medal and your t-shirt mailed to you. If you're also looking for volunteer opportunities, or you have any children that are looking for volunteer opportunities, the day before the race, we're going to be doing a packet pickup all day at Home State Brewing, and then also the morning of the race. So just feel free to reach out to us with any questions.
We also have a website that you can visit where we have merch like the sweatshirt. We have hats, stickers, mugs, cups, pens, pencils, all the fun stuff. Yeah.
But most importantly, we just need you to spread the word. Tell other people about what we want to do. As Kelly said earlier, when a lot of the money that we give, people have insurance, and insurance covers the bare minimum. But we're really trying to help these people live their best life. And that's why we want to open this coffee shop and employ these people. We want to see them strive and grow and live their best life as much as we can help them do that. My wife Kelly loves to take long walks on the beach. When she walks, she picks up broken sand dollars. We have jars and jars and jars all over our place of these broken sand dollars that she picks up. So why, you may ask, does she like picking up all these broken shells? Because she sees beauty in those flaws. She knows that God has put everything in this world here for a purpose and for a reason. She knows that other people have stepped over these shells, but she's willing to pick them up. She's the same way in her relationships. She treats everybody the same and chooses to bring them up instead of to pull them down. And so we use the broken sand dollar as our, our symbol that we are not stepping over what other people ignore, but picking up those broken pieces. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, anybody have any bingos?
I'm sure. Go ahead.